Welcome to the Comic Corner. My name is Damon. He is Fat Thor, and for whatever reason, buddy, the stars are just not aligning for us. It's just we're this close to having all three of us on the show for the first time.
Literally
together, this close, and then quite literally a severe thunderstorm prevented this all from happening. It was just the gods themselves, for whatever reason.
They knew we would be too powerful altogether. They needed to split us up just for a little while longer. The comic community couldn't handle it.
Next time, we'll see. Maybe. Who knows?
Oh, it's happening. It's happening, folks. Get ready. And like I said, your minds won't be able to comprehend it. It'll be like Cthulhu.
Exactly. Speaking of Cthulhu, here's a rundown, I guess.
Yeah.
That's a segue. House of Brainiac? Is Cthulhu in it? Maybe. We'll talk about it. Nightwing begins its final descent. Eisner Award nominees. And yes, Peach Momoko is included in that. Yes, we will also be talking about Ultimate X-Men #3 as well. But first, the House of Brainiac event still going on. Buddy, have you read any of this yet?
Unfortunately, no. I was trying to catch up before this episode here, but I will say everything I've read from Joshua Williams Superman has been aces. I hope I'm getting the run right, but the sexy Superman issue where he's in cowboy
Western Superman.
Cowboy Superman. Yeah. Love that issue. I'm pretty sure I picked up his annual that I absolutely loved. So, like I said, while I'm not keeping up with the run currently, everything I've seen from Joshua Williams on Superman has been great. And I am just like a personal big fan of Brainiac, probably one of my favorite Superman villains. So this event checks all the boxes for me. It's one that I'm definitely going to be diving into.
All right, so I won't go into too much spoilers, but I will say this about this event so far, because it's been going on. It's been very fun going between Action and Superman back and forth between each other. The story continues with the Power Girl book kind of serving as like a tie-in almost, but still serving within her own story as well. Green Lantern even had like a little tie-in backstory or backup in his issue as well. AF was going to bring that up, but I'll talk about just this whole saga very quickly. It's been fun. Brainiac's not my favorite Superman villain ever, so this whole thing's been kind of like, it's cool. It's interesting seeing where this is all going with this absolute power event coming after it. So that's where I feel like I'm not fully 100% invested in this because I kind of know where this is all going. And if you've attended New York Comic-Con, or if you attended San Diego Comic-Con, or if you've done any bit of knowing what DC is doing, you kind of know what the end result of this event is going to be, which is we're getting Queen Brainiac. They've been teasing this for a long while, since October, since September. They teased that we're getting Queen Brainiac. And I think that's kind of to the point where like, okay, I know where this is going, because we're finally getting there in this. And it's like, is that the end game here? Because if so, cool, fine. I don't think I needed an entire event for you to bring me a character that you already revealed to me like 6 months ago.
Yeah,
but that's fine. Like, it's fine. The actual story itself is cool. It goes back into Lex Luthor's like, is he good? Is he bad? What's he doing? Type of thing. Lex is trying to be good, but is he actually helping out Brainiac this whole time? What's going on there?
Typical Lex, dude.
Brainiac helping out Amanda Waller and how she's coming to power on this whole world too, and everything going on there with her. It's very much, it's very Brainiac. It's very puzzle piece, chess pieces, war pieces, moving this very cleverly here to here to here, getting characters to turn on each other at the last minute, right? That's what this event has been. It's been fun. This issue, this Superman issue at least, the issue after this one that we have up here, which is Action Comics 1065, which came out last week. The Superman issue that came out this week, I actually did genuinely enjoy. It sped things up a little bit. It kind of felt like we're, spinning tires for a little bit, where it's like, all right, I know where we're going. Let's get there. This issue is like, cool, we're finally here. we're doing this. I don't know how much longer of this event we have left, but it's been fun. And I would suggest if you do like Brainiac, I think you'll like this.
So let me ask you, do you feel like since you know kind of where it's going, like you said with the Queen Brainiac and stuff, do you feel like it's taking the momentum out of this? Like, does it feel more like a mini event almost, since it's like you have this thing looming? Like, I always compare to like this is way back in the day. I'm an old man now, but like when they announced Infinity War and they announced it like with Age of Ultron and all these, and everyone's like, dude, fuck Age of Ultron. Like, we got Infinity War coming, right? It's kind of like that situation where it's not necessarily bad, but just knowing what's coming, it's like, okay, I'm ready to get through with this. Let's get to the big guns.
Yeah, that's almost exactly how I feel with this, because it's like, all right, we got like this big thing coming up and this is almost leading to it.
Yeah.
So especially when, to me, it feels like the big reveal was Queen Brainiac, and that was revealed to me at least like months ago at New York Comic Con, that this issue after this, if it goes on for like a couple more issues, I'm interested in, because now I'm at a point where I don't know what's coming with Queen Brainiac after this. But it's been fun. It's been cool. It's interesting seeing what Brainiac's been up to. There's some great Superman lore that they added on to, and Joshua Williamson is very good at that. So overall, enjoyable. It does, though, I think I completely agree with you, feels a little bit lesser just because we know something bigger is coming up after this.
Yeah, should have kept that under wraps a little bit harder, maybe.
Yeah, well, it's fine. You know, as so long as like the next big thing, it's almost like you reveal the small thing just so you can keep the big thing under wraps, you know? So it's good. You like Superman, you like Brainiac, you like those type of stories, this will be for you. Moving on, sticking with DC though. I have been gagaing, glazing, whatever you want to say, this book for a long time.
Oh wait, you like this book? I've never heard you talk about it.
We're talking Nightwing. This is the beginning of the end of Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo's run on Nightwing. Part 1 of 5, Nightwing 114. Tom Taylor, Bruno Redondo. Man, this last issue previous to this, just to kind of give you where I was on 113 and a little bit before that, Bruno Redondo's been off the book for a hot while. He did that Superman book, that Cowboy Superman book, actually.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I was like, ooh, great art, because Bruno Redondo, love his art. There was a hot minute in this run where this art just wasn't the same. It's not like it was bad art. It was just, it feels like I'm out of this story because it's so different. 113 really, really felt like that. And I was almost like, man, I miss Bruno Redondo. And he came back for a couple pages at the very end. And it's like, there we go. This issue for me, it was just like, we're back. And it stinks. It's like, we're back. And it's about to end. And that's where Tom Taylor really shines in this. Because he's been setting up this villain throughout this entire run from the very beginning, named Heartless. His whole bit, he steals hearts. Pretty simple.
Makes sense.
That's his thing. And he's started small, then in Nightwing 100 went really big. It was like, whoa, this seems not out of character, but this seems like really big for what this character was. And now we're going back a little bit where I think that character realizes like, I kind of went a little crazy here. Let's go back to what made this character interesting and terrifying. Like, genuinely, this is when this villain has felt the best so far. Like, the most ruthless, heartless, ironically. Like, it's just
no pun intended.
Very well. Yeah, pun intended. Like, very well done. Tom Taylor nailed it. The interpersonal moments between Dick and Babs, too, nails those. That's where it's like Tom Taylor at his best. And the art, once again, everyone just looks so friggin' good. It's so consistent. It's the facial expressions, the thick lines, everything about it. Great. I don't know where we're going a little bit, because I do know, as you see in this cover art right now, there's other cover art as well. We have like Dick Grayson like up in the mountains with like a beard, and Haley the dog is like a full-grown dog at this point. So it's a little bit like maybe a couple months in the future, because dogs, you know, you're a dog owner. Dogs grow up very quickly. All of a sudden, they're a puppy one day, you blink, boom, that's a dog, right?
Literally like 2 a day.
Crazy. So that's almost kind of what happened here, where it's like Haley was a puppy for so long, and then boom, now Haley's a dog. So I'm curious to see where this is going. I have a feeling, I don't want to say it out loud just yet, but the whole bit with this for the last 10 issues now, 7, 6, 10 issues, has been Nightwing's inability to leap. That's always been his thing, is like not afraid of heights. He just goes for it. And that's been a recurring theme of a safety net below him. He can't jump right now for whatever reason. So that's kind of the underlying theme where this is all going. This is part 105. We still have 4 more after this. Only 4 more issues. If they nail this, this is definitely up there. I don't know if it beats Matt Fraction's Hawkeye. We'll see how this ends. If this ends beautifully, maybe. This is definitely up there in one of my favorite ongoing superhero stories ever.
Yeah.
And I can already tell, like, it's going to end very well.
Yeah. I mean, I love Tom Taylor. I feel like, you know, some people in the comic community have like mixed feelings on his writing sometimes, but I personally, I always make the joke. People know that I'm mostly a Marvel reader, but when I do read DC, I like to make the joke, make mine Tom, as in Tom King or Tom Taylor, because I think both those dudes just kill all their titles. But Nightwing is one that, like, I have not kept up with, but one that I'm like kicking myself for not keeping up with, because I know how great it's been since it started. I mean, it's been like years at this point now. But I have the first issue. I picked up the first issue and I loved the first issue, but you know, as well as I do, you know, we read a lot of books. It's hard to keep up sometimes. So I'm just, as like from the outside looking in, I'm just like so happy and excited to see this run get to its end. Not that I want it to end, but like that Tom was able to tell his story fully and like get it. Like we're in 100-something issues. That's like unheard of these days in comics. Like it's hard to get an ongoing.
Yeah, so Tom's run started on 78.
Okay, but still,
this is the DC way, where you don't reset after X amount of time.
That's still like a good 30+ issues, which is, like I said, and over the course of like 3-4 years, that in itself is a testament to the book. Because, like I said, it is insanely hard to get an ongoing these days, let alone one that goes over multiple years. So, I mean, just hats off to Tom for, you know, executing the story the way he wanted to and getting to this point. I think it's absolutely fantastic, and I'm just so excited. Like, again, I don't want to sound like I'm excited for the run to end, but like I'm excited to really dive into it, you know, like that it's all kind of over and just binge the whole thing front to cover. Because Nightwing's that's my guy. Like, again, like I'm more Marvel, but Dick Grayson, I've always loved that character. And like you've heard the debates, like, oh, who's the best Robin, blah, blah, blah. Don't get me wrong, I like Dick as Nightwing better, but like he'll always be Robin to me, right? Like that's my guy. So yeah, I love it, and I love that you love it so much, and it makes me excited to jump into it.
You're going to absolutely adore this when you finally do. Like beyond.
I did pick up the last issue though. I actually did pick up the last issue because, like I said, I have the first issue, and you're a big fan of the series, so you'll know what I'm talking about. But the last issue that came out is like an homage to that first issue cover, the one you were talking about where he's in the mountains and the beard and stuff. So I was like, oh, I got to get this just to put it next to the other one that I have, because it'll just look, you know, I got the beginning and I got the end. I'm just missing a massive middle section.
You'll get there. You'll get there. But you'll absolutely love this. Shout out again, once again, shout out Bruno Redondo on this.
Shout out. Oh, I was going to ask you, was he the original artist on this? Like when it first started?
When it first started, he was very consistent all the way through on, I believe, up until around 100. Then kind of went away. Phil and Artis came in, did very good for a while. This last one in 113 just wasn't for me. It felt too different, because at least the Phil and Artis, when they did come in, would try to at least replicate the look of Bruno Redondo, so it wouldn't be too stark. 113 was very, I described it as like manga anime, sharp faces, sharp chins, which is just not like the overall design of what this book was. So it felt a little off-putting for me. It's not like it's bad art. It was just different. And
there's definitely art that fits certain books. And it, like you said, it doesn't mean that the art's bad or anything, but there's just certain tones and all that the book portrays. Some art, it just fits better sometimes.
Or for me, we talk about Kelly Thompson's books a lot with like Birds of Prey. We haven't had the same artist on that throughout the entire thing, but at least when a new artist comes in, brings a new style, there's almost like a story reason behind it.
Yeah.
And just in that one, it should have, to me, like Bruno should have done the whole thing if he could have, because it was the last bit of essentially happiness before we go into what this arc is called with Fallen Grayson. If anything happens to Haley the dog, Tom Taylor.
Tom, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Tom, come on.
Don't. Anything but the dog.
Tom, we're watching. Tom.
Sticking with DC, our last DC book for the day. This is your pick. Outsiders, number 7.
Oh, dude, I am loving this book so much. I think we talked about this on our last episode, too. I brought up the previous issue. But, I mean, just blowing me away, this book. The storytelling in it is some of the most creative I think I've seen in a long time. We talked last time about this new kind of plot device they introduced, the place between pages, in which that's where all characters that are either canceled or like die in a crisis, that's where they end up. And it's just, again, just like so creative the way that they're telling this story. And I'll also preface this too, as I did last time, that these are characters that I really know nothing about. I'm not like a huge Cassandra Cain fan or Kate Kane. See, I'm even mixing up their names still. Like, I don't know anything more or less about these characters. And this book was able to grab me so hard that it's become like one of my most anticipated each week. And this book this issue doubles down on all of that. And again, just kind of really goes into the storytelling and like this kind of new corner of the DC world that they're kind of crafting out. And it's so interesting. It's fun. And it's so awesome. And like in this issue, they sort of, I don't want to spoil it too much for everybody, but they sort of bring us, the reader, into the issue in a way. And again, in a way I don't want to spoil for people, but it was just one of those things that I was like, damn, like that's fucking creative. You know what I mean? Like I would have never have thought of that. And I haven't seen something like this before. And I just really thought that was really cool. And again, like, you know, we read a lot of comic books. So if a book can like really surprise me like that and like show me something new and interesting that I haven't really seen before, that's like a huge win in my book. So yeah, I cannot praise Outsiders enough. And I'll also say too, if you are a big DC fan and you do know about these characters, Luke Fox, Kate Kane, and even Planetary, which again, I knew nothing about, this is your book. Like, this is your book. If you're a fan of Planetary, which I know a lot of people were kind of clamoring about when this book was announced and saying like it should have been a Planetary book, read it. Just read it. I don't want to spoil it for you, but read. If that was your wish, jump in and read this book right now because you will be super, super happy with it.
Seen a lot of different characters, several different Batman. Like we're going crazy.
Oh,
we're going crazy.
We got Bat people for sure. And
we got Bat people.
That's the one last thing I'll say about this, because I could go on a tangent for hours on this book. But another thing I really, really love about this, and Jackson Lancey and Colin Kelly have actually spoke on this before, but almost every single issue, whatever the threat is that they face, like there's, you know, one issue they go into this weird like Bat Mansion kind of thing, but they always find a way to deal with the problem or the villain, not with violence, which I know like kind of might sound lame to some people, but to me, it's really cool. And it's like, you know, we're super used to seeing the Bat family just kicking ass, right? You know, coming in, kicking ass, like, oh, you know, take out this thug, whatever. But we see Kate and Luke actually approach these problems with like more empathy, and like approaching these problems with how can we actually try and solve this and not just, you know, beat someone up and throw them away until they break out the next time, which is another thing I think I just really love about this book and makes it stand out among the other Bat books, at least for me.
Okay. You sold me on it.
That's what I do. That's my job.
All right. I know you say you're a Marvel person. I'm a Marvel person too. We haven't talked enough Marvel. We haven't talked enough Marvel, and this is our one Marvel book of the day.
I was saying, not talking about much Marvel. That seems to be a theme across this episode that we're going to get into a little later, too.
Yeah, there you go. That's a tease. So we're not talking Blood Hunt. What we are talking about is an Ultimate book. Yes. Ultimate X-Men. Peach Momoko Ultimate X-Men number 3. I was very excited when this book was announced. I was very excited when this entire series was announced. I really enjoy Peach Momoko's Demon Days because it is a very clever blending twist of Marvel lore and traditional Japanese folklore with yokai. It's so creative, so cool, very educational in a way too. If you have no idea what yokai are or anything about them, it's very well done. This Ultimate X-Men, from everything going on in the Ultimate Universe, is so in its own corner, and that can either be really benefit, like, you know, it could really help it in a way if you're into that, or really just push some people away because they're like, well, I'm in this just for the Ultimate storylines. So far, this is so kind of like separated. I don't know about this. For me, and possibly for you too, I am so in on this book because it's so different. It is such a creative take on the X-Men. And in reality, I think I mentioned it in the second issue, and I was almost a little wishy-washy on it because I'm like, I don't know. This isn't really feeling like an X-Men book. Really, this feels more like a New Mutants book, which is totally fine. There's still a school involved, and we're slowly starting to get more mutants into the fold. If you enjoy manga storytelling where each, you know, little chapter is relatively short and a quick read, you'll enjoy this. I think it's almost hurting it in a way because it is written like that. It's such a fast read. Just like, you know, any manga you'd kind of pick up on the shelf. It is such a fast read that you may not feel like you're getting what you pay for. But when this comes into a trade, I think this is going to be such a great, complete story read, as you would for like, as you'd pick up any manga off a shelf and not just digitally by chapters, right? So where are we in this story? We have our main character. We then also, who's essentially Armor. We have a secondary character who we were introduced to, which was like, is this the Ultimate Storm? What is going on here? And yes and no, because Storm still exists in the Ultimate Universe as Aurora, but this is a character who just has similar powers, which I've talked about before. That's not a crazy thing for mutants and X-Men. Like, we have how many telepaths? Like, come on, you know, like, this isn't insane. We learn May Storm's background in this issue, like her whole origin per se. And I think it was really creative, really well done. I'm still just like fascinated by this whole story so far. What about you?
Yeah. I mean, I just got to echo pretty much everything you said because I agree on all fronts. I'm loving the kind of mystery being set up, and we were talking about this, and I will agree that it is a slower burn, like these first 3 issues, but I agree with you. Like, for me, it totally works, and I really am enjoying the slow kind of burn and introducing us to these characters. And kind of similarly to what we were just talking about with Outsiders and what you said as well, is it's just so creative. And like the art, I love Peach's artwork so much, and like her on story and art, it's just, it feels different. It feels new. And again, for someone who reads a lot of comic books, when a book can make me feel like that, that's like, I know it's got the sauce, right? So like you said, I'm really, really loving it. I will say it is a slow burn, but it works really well for me. And I'm so excited to see where it all goes. And I totally agree with you too. I think that this series will definitely benefit heavily from a trade once it's all said and done. And I mean, at least for me, I would pick this book up just for the art itself. Like, I'm not a big manga reader, so, you know, maybe this is something relatively normal and I'm just not aware of it. But it's just the structure of it, the artwork in it. Again, you could just pick it up for that alone and be very happy with the book. But the things that she's setting up, the kind of little eggs here and there, and like slowly revealing the story to us, I absolutely love it. And but I will agree with you too. It does feel more of like, I would say it's just kind of a book of mutants instead of like the X-Men, right? It's just more about mutants in general. But yeah, I mean, aces all around. Again, I can only echo all the great things you said. Peach is knocking it out of the park. I can't wait for more.
Last thing before we move on to the next book, I have to completely reiterate what you said. The art, Peach Momoko's art, it's incredible. The watercolors, stunning, stunning, stunning art.
Yeah.
I have her Demon Days book, but it's like a coffee table book, essentially. It's fairly large. I didn't realize how large it was.
Oh, I need to get that.
But it is gorgeous to look at on, like, you know, a big coffee table page. I love her art. We'll bring her up again later on when we talk about Eisner's, because clearly she was recognized. Another book that should be recognized. Before I go any further on it, did you read Something is Killing the Children? Or you did not?
I'm so sorry.
That's fine, because I will say this.
Please tell me more. Tell me more. I want to hear all about it.
I love this series. When it's not like, if we're just saying in general series, non-superhero, whatever, Something is Killing the Children is one of the best stories on the shelves right now, hands down. If you are interested, just inklinged interested in this series, I know it says number 37 on there. I know the previous issue said 36 on there. We are currently in an arc right now that I believe is perfect for new readers, at least just to get interested in it, where you pick up 37, you read it. If you like it, which I think everyone will, because every single person who I've told to read this book has really enjoyed it, go back to number 1 and then get caught up. But this is a great sample of what this series is in one issue. Werther's art's fantastic. James Tynion's writing in here, again, phenomenal. The world building, it's all about the world building here. If you like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you will love this. If you like thriller, if you like horror, if you just want to see a badass woman just murk some monsters, but have like an entire secret organization just kind of like trying to take her down too, like, this whole thing right here is so good. I loved this issue. We're currently in an arc right now, because we just came off an arc that was absolutely batshit wild crazy and has serious repercussions for the remainder of this series, at least going forward with our main character, Erica Slaughter, that we're now taking a step back, almost like a breather, to be like, okay, we're going to go back in time a little bit and just look at some moments in Erica Slaughter's life that kind of like led her and showed her how she is. So this issue right here, again, go read this when you can, because if you like this issue, it gives you literally every single thing as like a key point that Something is Killing the Children has to offer. And then if you like that, there's also House of Slaughter, which is like lore expanding through the world. This is the Boom Studios hit. This is the Boom Studios comic right now. If you're not reading this, please do. You will really enjoy it. Again, possibly, in my opinion, the best comic, story-wise, ongoing, on the shelf right now. Hands down.
I love it. I'm so excited to jump into it. And I will say, again, like, while I haven't read it myself, I'm very in tune to the comic scene and, like, you know, conversations that are happening. And I will say I have never heard of someone not liking Something's Killing the Children. Like, everyone raves about the book. Everyone that's reading it absolutely loves it. So, and I mean, James Tynion, he's a monster. Like, he's an amazing writer. So I, again, echo what Damon said. While I haven't read the run myself, I think you can be pretty secure in picking this up and you will 95% enjoy it. So, I mean, I'm super excited to jump into it. Again, I know how great it is. I've heard everyone raving about it for years now. So if you're telling me that this is the perfect issue to be able to jump in and, you know, even if you're not reading, sold, absolutely sold. And I urge everyone else out there, if you are like me and have heard about this book and haven't read it, join me. Let's take this journey together. Let's jump in. It's going to be great.
This will be a Comic Corner Reading Club book later this year. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. I am making this happen.
Let's do it.
So at the first volume, I believe I was just double checking on it right now to see how many volumes we are in. I believe it's 7. No. No. For trades,
I said
we
2.
are on 7.
Jeez.
For hardcover like compendiums, it is 2. But for trades, individual trades, it's 7. So the first 3 complete the first overall arc. Then volume 4 is like a standalone arc, almost like what we're in right now. But that's more like a look back, further back on this character's entire backstory. Then 5, 6, 7 is another complete arc. Now volume 8, it seems like will be another standalone arc before we move on until the next long chapter arc that we have coming up. Good thing about this book, before we move on to the Eisner Awards, it's a good thing in most ways, because it allows you to breathe with it. Tynion and Werther are always together on this, so they don't rush books out here. If they can't get a book, they take hiatuses, is what I'm trying to get at. So you can kind of catch up on an arc before the next one comes out. You have time. Perfect. So that's a nice thing, and they're both together on this always, so it's the same look, the same words, the same feel. It's just really complete.
Love it.
Eisner Awards 2024. What are the Eisner Awards, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know? It's like the Emmys, it's like the Oscars, but for comic books. They're done at San Diego Comic-Con. So if you're at San Diego Comic-Con, hey, I don't know how you get into it, honestly, if you're not like nominated. There really isn't like a way to watch it online.
I think you can just go reason. Honestly, I think you can just pop in.
Look it up.
Yeah,
look it up. But we're going to go through some of the hit points on here. We'll talk about some of our picks, what we would pick on here. The very first one that we'd have is Best Single Issue One Shot. Horologist by Jared Lee and Cross. Nightwing 105 by Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo. Star Trek Day of Blood. Shax's Best Day by Ryan North and Derek Charm. Superman 2023 Annual. Joshua Williamson and others. Sweet Paprika, Black, White, and Pink by Mirka Andolfo and others. It goes without saying, Nightwing 105. Okay, you go.
Yep. I mean, while I feel like the only one I've read on here is Superman Annual, so I'm gonna go Superman Annual. But I mean, I would have been between Nightwing and Superman probably myself.
Huge shout out also, Mirka Andolfo, Sweet Paprika. Such a fun book. I have read that one. Very fun. Very, very, very fun. Best continuing series. We're going to start to see a theme here coming up, and good God, do not make me pick.
I would say this is a hard one for you, dude. I saw this list and I was like,
I refuse.
How is Damon going to pick on this?
I refuse, because we have Birds of Prey by Kelly Thompson and Leo Romero, Nightwing, Tom Taylor, Bruno Redondo, Shazam, Mark Waid, Dan Mora, Transformers by Daniel Warren Johnson, writing and art, and Wonder Woman, Tom King, Daniel Sempere. I'm not picking.
I honestly, I can't pick either. These are all rock stars. I mean, these all, in my mind, all deserve to win. I mean, DWJ, Daniel Warren Johnson, I love, like, he put so much respect on our boy Better Ray. Like, I will forever love him. Birds of Prey has been absolutely gangbusters. We just nerded out for like 20 minutes on Nightwing. Wonder Woman, I mean, we've talked about Wonder Woman like that's been one of my favorites this year as well. So it's like I literally cannot pick.
This last issue I wanted to bring up today, we just didn't have time. Again,
this last issue was nuts.
So good. Yes. It's just been that whole run so far. I mean, if you like Tom King books, this will be for you. Tom King books aren't for everyone because they do get a little wordy, but like it's like poetry. It's beautiful. I love it. I'm not picking any one of these.
All of them. I pick all of them.
They all deserve to win. Best limited series. Here's another name we just brought up. Kelly Thompson. She is having an incredible Eisner season. Shout out to Kelly Thompson. We've interviewed her twice on here. Hopefully again soon. So let's start with this. The Cole. Kelly Thompson and Mattia de Luis. Fantastic book. Godzilla. Here There Be Dragons by Frank Thierry and Inaki Miranda. Kill Your Darlings by Ethan S. Parker, Griffin Sheridan, and Robert Quinn. Eisner Award nominated book Pee Pee Poo Poo by Caroline Cash.
Hell yeah.
And Superman Lost, Christopher Priest and Carlo Pagulayan. Superman Lost, by the way, fantastic series. I'll have to personally say the Cole, Kelly Thompson, Mattia de Luis. Mattia's art in here, incredible, absolutely incredible. Pee Pee Poo Poo, you know. Now I'm curious.
I say I gotta go pee pee poo poo, my man, for sure, 100%.
I'm curious now. Like,
I'm definitely gonna.
Now I'm interested.
Yeah, I'm for sure reading it just off the name. Which I mean, you know, shout out to Caroline because that's a great marketing tactic. Because if I see a book called Pee Pee Poo Poo, I'm picking it up. You damn best believe.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe one of the issues it was number 69 as well, because of course it was. Best new series, Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees by Patrick Horvath. Black Cloak, Kelly Thompson and Meredith McLaren. Local Man, Tim Seeley, Tony Fleeks. Phantom Road, Jeff Lemire and Gabriel Hernandez Walta. And Somna, A Bedside Story by Becky Cluin and Tula Latte. Somna's bedtime story, by the way. Very spicy book. Very spicy book. That absolutely, like, great nominees right here, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, all great nominees. All bias. Black Cloak, Kelly Thompson, Meredith McLaren.
Dude, like
if you like fantasy, if you like murder mystery, if you like detective stories, just all literally mashed together in a blender, put on a platter right in front of your face with adorable arts, that's your book.
Dude, like you said, Kelly is freaking cleaning up this year. I love it. She's literally in like every category. But for me, I'm going Local Man from Tim Seeley and Tony Fleeks. Like, I think that series is absolutely awesome. I was lucky enough to talk to Tony just recently. Super nice, super cool guy. And I'm just super happy to see him nominated up there. So, yeah, I got to go with the boy Tony.
All right. Best humor publication. How to Love, A Guide to Feelings and Relationships for Everyone by Alex Norris. I Was a Teenage Michael Jackson Impersonator and Other Musical Meanderings by Keith Knight. It's Jeff the Jeff Verse by Guess Who? Kelly Thompson and Gurihiru. Macanudo, Optimism is for the Brave by Linears. And Yakuza's Bias by Teki Yatsuda. Translation by Max Greenway. Jeff. It's always Jeff. Jeff the Landshark forever. Jeff the Landshark in the MCU. Jeff the Landshark, the animated series. Jeff the Landshark, the merchandise. Give me all the Jeff.
Jeff the Landshark for president.
Jeff the Landshark, the Eisner Award nominated character.
Yes. Love it. I'm with you. Jeff for sure.
Jeff forever. Best
Jeff forever.
writer. Best writer. Man. Do we have to pick this one too? Jeez Louise.
I don't want to do it.
Stephen Graham Jones, Earth Divers. Mariko Tamaki's Roaming. Tom Taylor for Nightwing. Kelly Thompson for Birds of Prey, Harley Quinn, Black White Redder, Black Cloak, The Cole, It's Jeff, Captain Marvel. Golly. Mark Waid for Batman, Superman, World's Finest, Shazam, and World's Finest Teen Titans. And very happy about this one. G. Willow Wilson's Poison Ivy and Hunger and Dusk of the IDW series. Man, I really want to shout out here because we haven't mentioned her yet. G. Willow Wilson's her Poison Ivy run is so good. Every single issue, nothing but bangers. So shout out to her. That book absolutely nominated, like Eisner nominated, deserves.
Yeah, she's one of my favorite writers, to be completely honest. I love G. Willow Wilson. She's probably my pick just because I'm such a fan of her work regardless. But I mean, this is just an all-star list right here. It's really, you can't go wrong, which I also want to say with the other ones that we've already, you know, picked or mentioned or whatever. All of these people are more than deserving of these awards. I don't want anyone out there to think like just because we're picking ones that we like means that the others aren't deserving. Rock stars all around in all of these categories. Shout out to every writer, artist that is nominated. They all deserve it. But yeah, for me, on this list, for me, it's got to be between Kelly and G. Willow Wilson. Like those, I think it's like neck and neck there for me on that.
I can't pick. We move on. I would
say, yeah, you can't go wrong with any.
I can't pick. We move on. A couple more. Best writer artist combo. Emery Kroll, a guest in the house. Bill Griffith's 3 Rocks. Daniel Warren Johnson's Transformers. Moku Mokurin, The Summer Hikaru Died, Volume 1. Zoe Thorgood's Hack Slash, Back to School, and Tilly Walden's Clementine Book 2. The reason I really wanted to bring this up is because Zoe Thorgood brought it up herself, which is high-key hilarious. She wrote a book a year or two ago, I want to say a couple of years ago, called Lonely at the Center of the Earth, which she jokingly called it Eisner bait. It's genuinely an amazing, like, auto-reflective bio type of graphic novel. Incredible story. If she wins an Eisner for Hack Slash and not that, I'm just like, do it for the bit, right? Yeah. Let's do it for the bit.
Yeah.
Shout out to Daniel Warren Johnson too, though.
Yeah, I mean, all of these are absolutely fantastic. I can't pick. I'm DWJ and Thorgood. I got to pick 2. I can't just pick one. Like I said, this is too hard, man. There's just so much great talent, right? That's and it's exactly like, I just want to, like, I know I've already said that, but just emphasize, like, there's just so much great talent. And I just want to take a moment, like, just appreciate all the great creatives that we have in the medium right now. Like, we are just eating so damn good.
When we get to this next one, we'll go on our soapbox and say what we will on this. The artist interior art, Jason Sean Alexander, Blackula, Return of the King, Checo's The Monkey Kin, Juanjo Guarnido, a Black Sad Volume 7, Liam Sharp's Noctera, Martin Simmons, Universal Monsters Dracula, and Sana Takada's The Night Eaters, Her Little Reapers. I personally actually haven't read any of these. You suggested Martin Simmons' Dracula.
Dude, Dracula, easy. Again, no diss to anyone else nominated in this section, but for me, Dracula was like the most well-drawn book I've seen in like ages. Like, again, we were talking earlier about Peach's artwork, right? And it's like very similar where first time I opened that book, I was like, whoa, like literally like took a step back. I was like, holy crap. It's like that like paint watercolor kind of texture. And it's, you literally could take every single page from, I think it's 4-issue miniseries from the entire series and like frame it and put it on your wall. Like, it's that good. And the splash pages, it's just, I cannot rave enough about it. It's like one of the best drawn books I've seen in a long time. So for me, easily Dracula.
So on my soapbox, I go with this, and I think you will have your own soapbox. But for me,
we'll be across the street from each other.
But for me, what I have to say about all of this, the comic book industry, the talent in it, I feel like has never been higher. Or at least just, it's so good, and it's never been bad. Like, it's so good right now. It is so incredibly good now. Every single book on here, as you mentioned, deserves its praises. I want more love. I want more love for it. Like, it's every single artist, every single writer. It's very hard to find a bad book right now.
Yeah, it really is. And I 100% agree with you. I've said this numerous times on my, Twitter and on my show as well. But I genuinely do believe that we are living in an era of highest caliber of talent, both artist and writing, that we've ever seen in comics. And again, that is no disrespect to any other area, like, you know, the boys in the 90s, Jack and Stan, you know, the golden age, all amazing talent. But again, I truly think like the caliber of talent that we are seeing right now in art, storytelling, and I would, you know, even throw it to the letterers and colors. It's just like, it's just, again, the best it's ever been, in my opinion, at least. And it's just, like you said, you'd be really hard to find a book that's just like, oh, this is just not good. Right? Like, yes, you'll find something that maybe not be your flavor or, you know, your typical wheelhouse. But again, it would be hard pressed to find one that's just like, yeah, this is just like not well written or well drawn. It's just, while there are a lot of problems in the industry these days and a lot of other things going on, the talent is the best it has ever been, for sure.
And again, those weren't all the nominees. There's so many others. Like, we have best penciler, inker teams, best cover artist. Shout out Jen Bartel and Jenny Frizen.
Yeah,
those. And
Jen Bartel is my
Dan
pick for that one, for sure.
Best coloring, like Jordi Belair, Matt Hollingsworth, Dean White. Like, so many other awards that also deserve the recognition. I always mention Jordi Belair's colors whenever I can. Fantastic colorist.
Yeah.
But one thing you just wanted to bring up very quickly. Very quickly on this. I feel like there was one company in particular that
just wasn't shafted this year. No Marvel books. Literally no Marvel books. I mean, yeah, I think there's a few in some of the other categories that you just mentioned, but yeah, I mean, obviously this is from my own bias, like, and I will freely admit that. But again, like I said before, I am mainly a Marvel reader, but it just is again, no diss to anybody who is nominated. All of those spots are more than deserving. This isn't me saying like, oh, so-and-so should have been there instead of so-and-so. Nothing like that. But it just is very surprising to me that we don't have one Marvel title on some of these bigger, you know, on the bigger awards, like, you know, best title or best new writer, you know, stuff like that. And yeah, like I said, I mean, I'm not mad about it because, again, we just talked about there's so much great talent on the list that I'm happy for all of them. I'm not upset with it. But it does, I definitely do believe 100% that there are definitely worthy titles over at Marvel that could have been added to some of these lists, for sure. I mean, we've talked plenty of times. Jed McKay has absolutely been killing it on a bunch of different titles. I mean, I think Moon Knight I would put up on as one of the best series, I think, for sure. I mean, especially the way he just dealt with the death of Mark Spector and like is kind of playing with all that. Masterclass storytelling. But yeah, like I said, I don't want to sound like I'm complaining or like I'm upset about it because, again, rock star talent all around. But I do think it is a little surprising that we don't see Marvel. I mean, you know, all love to all of our comic publishers, right? But they call it the big two for a reason, Marvel and DC, right? And to not see Marvel on there is, one, shocking, but on the other hand, I think it's also kind of cool because it's like we're seeing Boom and Skybound, you know, these different publishers getting nominated, which, again, while I love Marvel, I really enjoy some of these indie books and, like, again, outside of the big two getting the recognition that they deserve. So it's like a double-sided sword for me.
I can go through some of the stats with you. Image and DC have received the most, both at 17, Fantagraphs with 11, First Seconds with 10, IDW with 9.
See, that's crazy.
Drawn and Quarterly 8, Marvel with 5 plus 3 share, Dark Horse with 4, Penguin Random House with 5, Yen Press with 4, Titan Comics and Europe Comics with 3, Viz with 3, and Distillery with 2. Like, it's
see, and again, I think that's a good thing.
IDW with 9.
Yeah, that's right? Why I said I think that's a really good thing. While, again, like, I'm personally a Marvel fan, like, that's just personally what I like. I really think it's a good thing that we have all these other publishers with so many nominations. And again, while I personally love Marvel, I think it's good for the industry. Again, like, giving love to these other publishers, to these other books that aren't your main 2 superhero books, because you and I both know that there is just such more of a wealth of comics than just superhero books. And I think a lot of people who, you know, outside looking in, they only see the superheroes, the Marvel, the DC. So yeah, like I said, while I have my own personal, like, oh, I wish this was nominated, I wish this was, I think ultimately it's a good thing for comics as a whole.
I mean, EC Comics is coming back. We're getting like actual science fiction and horror books coming back, which has always been like a mainstay in the comic industry. It's all like, you know, the superhero books have had their highs and lows. We had romance comics and Western comics, but like the horror and the sci-fi has always been, it's always been there. It's always been consistent. That's why, you know, as the years go on, I'd like to see more of like those booms. Image is always up there, but like Vault, Massive, Mad Cave, like books that we've been talking about too, off on the side on our socials. There's so many different books out there that are not superhero books, which we tend to talk about a lot because those are the big 2.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've been in a massive, no pun intended, horror comic kick, right? You love sci-fi books too. So there's so many different types of books out there. So those are the Eisners. I think we covered that pretty well.
Yeah, honestly. I think we did great, honestly. Hey man, we killed that. Let's pat ourselves on the back. We killed that. But yeah, like you said, it's just such a great time in comics right now. And again, while there will be some people out there that are very loud and will try to convince you that comics are in a terrible place, we are just eating so good. There's so many great books out there. The creative talent is some of the best it's ever been. It's never been a better time to jump into the comic scene than right now. So, I mean, if you're watching this show, you probably are into comics if you're watching a Comic Corner show. But if you aren't and you're just like you're more of a casual fan, I urge you all, like, just go pick something up. It doesn't even just pick something up, and I guarantee you'll find something that you love.
That is the whole point of the show, is to get people into comics, welcome you into the community. It's not so bad here. The water's just fine.
Yeah.
Talk about the future just a bit. The future. We talk about jumping into comics. We got Solicit season from Marvel. We also had it for DC as well. Shout out Gotham City Sirens, which is coming back. But we're going to do a quick shout out of Marvel because, you know, Marvel deserves a little bit of love in this show.
Love. Yeah.
We got a new Avenger. It's not who I expected, honestly, but it's a welcome new Avenger coming up in August. Who is it?
Storm, baby. Let's go. Yes, I am so excited. Obviously, I go by Fat Thor. Thor is my guy, but Storm is right there with him, baby. I mean, I am just a sucker for lightning powers, I guess, because like that's my thing. Aurora Storm, I love her so much, and I am just to me it just makes sense that she would be an Avenger, right? Like she's just so powerful. All this I'm not as caught up with Krakoa as I would like to be, but all the stuff in X-Men Red with Mars and all that. I mean, come on, people. Like, come on. This is going to be great. It's going to be so good. And it's under our boy Jed, who we were just raving about. So yeah, this is going to be awesome. I cannot wait.
If I recall correctly, from my conversation with Jed and other interviews I've heard him in, he was always a fan of like the Beast on Avengers. So when it was announced that there's gonna be a mutant joining the Avengers, I'm like, it's gonna be Beast.
That would have been awesome though,
because Beast kind of needs a little bit of a facelift right now. Let's be honest.
Maybe.
The other Marvel book we got. This is mine. So that was your pick. This is my pick. And when you go through solicits, you kind of just look at covers. Sometimes when you see number 1, you'll read what's about. I saw this cover. And we're talking about the Ultimates number 3 because the first one's coming out next month in June, on June 5th. The Ultimates number 3. We have our very first look at Ultimate She-Hulk.
Yes.
Beast.
I'm so excited. Whoa. I'm glad you picked this one because I picked the Avengers because this was going to be my next pick too. Because, oh man, this is going to be so good.
Oh man, so we got like Gray Hulk in there with her. Like I saw someone said she's giving the mascara, and I'm like, yeah, I can see that too. So I'm I'm very interested in this Ultimates book, especially because that free comic book day issue. Did you read that free comic book day issue from Marvel?
I'm not
where it's
sure.
almost them beginning their ascent on how their Ultimates team is formed.
Is that when they break Thor out of the prison? Or is that something else I'm thinking of? Because they came out with the Ultimate, like, so they had the Ultimate Invasion, and then they had an Ultimate, like a standalone Ultimate something issue.
Yeah, so it wasn't that. That was like kind of what keyed off everything. They did have on Free Comic Book Day, they had like Marvel's like the Ultimates type of like send off. And there's like some wild things in there. So go check it out. I don't want to spoil it, but it shows what the maker has done to this world and how he was able to shape it in the way he did. And like there's some images in there that I'm like, oh my God. So it's made me like brutal, like things that like there's these crazy powerful characters. How do you handle a world with like make sure Black Bolt's not a problem type of thing, right? Or make sure that the Fantastic Four aren't a problem. And do you know, I can't recall, do you know who Doom is in this universe?
Oh yeah, they revealed that in in Ultimate Invasion. I'm pretty sure. What is it? I'm trying to remember.
Reed.
Yeah.
Reed is Doom. So there's some wild stuff in there where it's just crazy. Really am fascinated by like the actual like we talked about the Ultimate X-Men, but again, that's in such a small little bubble, feels completely separated. And in the world that they created, it makes sense because of how split everything kind of is, and it's very regionalized. The Ultimate Spider-Man has been fantastic, and I'm just so fascinated.
Ultimate Black Panther, absolutely smacking as well. This whole Ultimate line, like you said, we talked about X-Men earlier. We're talking about this. I feel like we got to talk about just like Hickman is just killing this new universe, like absolutely gangbusters. If you guys did not read Ultimate Invasion, I highly, highly recommend going to check that out. While I haven't read the issue that Damon's talking about for Free Comic Book Day, Ultimate Invasion goes into a lot of this stuff that we're talking about here, about like how the maker made this universe, where this new Ultimate team comes from, like all this stuff. So I highly urge, if you missed out on that, because I feel like that one kind of either went over people's heads or people were like not sure what it was. And they were like,
I can tell you what my opinions were of it at the time. Right. So I remember when Hickman came back, and I was making a little bit of a big deal about it because I'm like, Hickman's only coming back if it's something big.
Yeah.
And then it was like they announced a God series. And I was like, is this it? Is this the big thing? And I read it and I'm like, I don't know, this feels more like a passion project that I almost gave them. This, when they announced the Ultimate Invasion, I was very excited. I was like, oh my God, they're bringing back the Ultimate Universe. And that's not really what they did. They made a new Ultimate Universe in the end, essentially. They're calling it the Ultimate Universe. So it's very different. Don't go into this being like, oh, we're going back into the Ultimate Universe. This is completely a separate thing. And this was his big project. So I remember TJ Zwarich and we had a live when this whole thing was announced, and we're speculating. Neither of us speculated it would go on like this, right? It was just like, oh, are they bringing back the 1610 or whatever it was?
Well, they played it so good, which again, like, shout out to Hickman. Like I always say, if you need an event, you call Hickman. Like the dude knows how to do events and like these kind of big stories. And what he did was so smart, I think, is so like you said, like when this first announced, we're all thinking like, oh, 1610 is coming back, like the Ultimate Universe coming back. But if you guys have read Donny Cates's Venom, that's like where all this maker stuff really started to get set up, right? And the maker was tasked by the Council of Reeds, which is a collection of reeds from different universes, to say, in order for him to join the Council of Reeds, the maker had to save his universe, so Earth 1610. So what the maker does, instead of like, because his universe is gone, 1610 is gone, so he makes this new 1610 universe, whatever they designate it as, and he crafts this universe to his own, you know, all pun intended, his own making. And that is how he's trying to get back into the Council of Reed. And like, just like for Hickman to be able to take that plot line from Cates and like expand on that and establish that is just been so freaking cool. And I think it is a way interesting avenue to go down than to just be like, oh yeah, the Ultimates are back, right? And like seeing Tony Stark in his new Iron Man role, it's so much fun. It's so cool. And I think it also pays off a lot of things. I mean, all the way back to Secret Wars 2015 that have been set up for so long. And so again, like if you didn't catch Ultimate Invasion, or if you're reading like Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Black Panther, highly urge you to go back and reread Ultimate Invasion and like see how Hickman has set up this world, because it really is like it's just crazy.
If you don't want to read it, it's only 3 or 4 issues, that Ultimate Invasion story. It does get a little nutso, honestly, towards the end of it.
Well, that's why I say go back to read it.
Yeah, it goes a little nutso. If you just want to jump into it, the one shot that we're talking about is just called Ultimate Universe #1. And that just kind of sets the stage. And all you have to know is the maker made this universe.
Which I can't wait to see what happened to the maker, too. Because I feel like that's still very open-ended. Like,
yeah, Maker made universe and Maker went away.
Something happened. It's like, what exactly? So, which I also want to say, you know, we're shouting out Jonathan Hickman and how great he is. I also do want to shout out Donny Cates as well. While he is on a little hiatus right now, he is the one who set up this whole Ultimate Universe coming back. And again, with the Maker and bringing all that, he kind of put the pieces in place for Hickman to pick up. So I think that if he wasn't on this break, we would see a lot more involvement of him in this Ultimate Universe. But I do, again, want to give a massive shout out to Donny Cates, because we would not have this Ultimate line going if it weren't for the pieces that he laid down first.
I just had to double check the new universe, because we keep saying a lot of numbers: 616, 1610. This new one is the 6160.
Oh, okay. I thought it was 1610 for some reason.
Yeah, it's so the old one obviously was 1610. The new one is 6160. So there you go, for all the nerds really trying to keep up with universe numbers and all that jazz, especially because Gwen Stacy's no longer in Earth 65 and she's in the 616. I don't even know what's going on there anymore. Crazy stuff is going on in Marvel Comics. All right, buddy, let's wrap it up. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
You know where to find me. You can find me on Twitter at @TheFatThor. You can also check me out on YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts, for my show, The Sons of Mjolnir, where we have comic book reviews, deep dives, creator interviews, all that good stuff. And of course, you can always find me at the wonderful Agents of Fandom and the Comic Corner with my good friend Damon here. Damon, thank you so much for having me on again. It is always such a pleasure to come nerd out with you and talk about all these great books. And I just cannot be excited to do more of it.
Oh, I am planning more and more, because we're talking more and more books, and I'm looking at the recording time, and I'm hearing our editor-in-chief in the back being like, you got to make these shorter. And I'd be like, all right, well, I don't know. Maybe that means a show a week at this point. Who knows?
Hey, so I'm up for it.
We'll see. You can find me on Twitter at Comic Corner Pod, where you can find all our news, reviews, interview links for everything that we do. You can find me on TikTok at Damon Talks Comics. You can find me on Instagram at Damon.Graham. If you sense a theme from there on out, you get the theme. And that'll do it for this issue of the Comic Corner. Go read some comics. Go support your local comic shops if you have them near you. If not, there's plenty of digital ads as well, digital places to get your comics as well. But go find your local comic shop. There's so many around, and they're an amazing place to go chat, nerd out, maybe have a little debate on who would win a fight, Thor or Hulk. That'll do it for this issue of the Comic Corner. Peace.